Hey, this is your Olympic hero, Kurt Angle, and you're listening to Top Rope Nation. Oh, it's true. It's damn true.
This should be played at high volume, preferably in a residential area.
Ladies and gentlemen, it is now time!
Oh, no.
Oh, yeah!
I finished these fights.
Give me a hell yeah!
Top Rope Nation.
Learn to love it. It's the best thing going today.
What's up, guys? This is episode 103 of Top Rope Nation. We've got WWE Stomping Grounds on the horizon. AEW is hot. All Out has sold out. We're going to talk about that. And my name's Ryan Drosty of comicbook.com, and I am joined here by Kyle and Justin, as always, to break down the pay-per-view this weekend, talk the latest news in pro wrestling. We've got some listener emails we're going to get to later as well. And, of course, as always, Kyle's match of the week at the end of this broadcast. But first off, Kyle, let me just talk about what's going on this week with you. How was your Father's Day? And how's Thursday night going across the country over there in Ohio?
You know, the phrase thoughts and prayers is rather overused and, quite frankly, emotionally vacant. But I could use some over here in Cleveland because my wife on Saturday, leaving the country, not leaving me. She will come back, I believe, at least. Hope. But yes, but going to Germany for work, and that means I got a baby for 10 days. Like any responsible father would, I am shipping her off to the baby off to Grandma and Grandpa's for 75 to 90 hours over a course of the weekend, as it is big fan of the show Brian's 40th birthday next weekend.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Happy early birthday, Brian. But Father's Day, was Father's Day good, Kyle?
Yeah, it was good.
Yeah, good. Justin, how was your Father's Day? How's it going tonight?
Outside of Friday, it was the weekend from hell. We had a family reunion, and I want to say about 30 of us, and we rented this giant place in the country in southern Iowa, and it was freaking beautiful. But I walk in, I have an 1.5-year-old, and it is all the floors are concrete, all the edges are sharp. So I was like, this is going to be a long weekend of chasing this little dude around, where if he starts running, two things are happening. He's going to reach what he's running to in time, or he's falling on his face.
But all concrete floors, who's running this Airbnb? Bill Watts or what?
So Saturday, I'm stuck watching because my wife gets a stomach flu. And, everybody's kind of busy, connecting with family. So kind of left to my own devices following my kid around. So it was just a really shitty day. And also this place is an echo chamber because of the concrete floors and everything else. So when he goes down for a nap, he's waking up right away. So I wake up Sunday, Father's Day, and I start vomiting, and we have to be out by 10.
Oh my God, he's gonna puke! He's gonna puke! He's gonna puke! Oh man.
And so we, end up going home. It's a 3-hour drive home. The vomiting turns south, if you know what I mean, at a certain point. And in 48 hours, I had chicken noodle soup and a piece of toast, and just got healthy yesterday, and today I developed a cold, so I'm low energy and unhappy.
And to bring this full circle with a joke Kyle made last week, amazingly, you weren't even watching WWE Super Showdown as this was going on. Well,
you look good, Justin, by the way. What an attractive man.
He does look good, guy. As always. We are live streaming tonight, as we do each and every week on Patreon, patreon.com/Top Rope Nation. For $1 a month, you get our live stream as we record each and every week. And until June 30th, $5 a month, you join the $5 tier, you get a free t-shirt sent to you in the mail. In addition, at that $5 tier, you get a Top Rope Nation sticker. Kyle is wearing the new Top Rope Nation t-shirt right now. Awesome. Showing it off on the webcam. It's the black and red logo version that just went out. And so $5 a month gets you a shirt. It gets you the sticker. It gets you all of our exclusive broadcasts, including Top Rope Nation Classics, our most recent edition, reviewing Bash at the Beach 96, 90 minutes on that, only available on Patreon. And then Top Rope Nation Extra, typically those are pay-per-view review shows that are posted only on Patreon. Also, where we will be doing a review show coming up this weekend of WWE Stomping Grounds. You can only hear that on Patreon. Honestly, for $5, you're getting a free shirt. It's worth it to try it out for 1 week or 1 month, more than 1 week, 1 month at least. See if you like it. I got to throw a shout out to our newest patron, Carlo, who joined up just yesterday. So join that $5 tier. He's going to have a t-shirt sent out to him. Thank you very much for your support, and all of our patrons for their support. So check it out, patreon.com/Top Rope Nation. And I also got to mention, guys, we have a brand new t-shirt posted on our Pro Wrestling Tees store, prowrestlingtees.com/Top Rope Nation. This is by our official show designer, Tim, who I've talked about before, did an excellent job on this t-shirt. It is a kind of it says Top Rope Nation, established 2016. I love this sport. It's a great design, black and gold. Honestly, might be my favorite t-shirt we've ever had. And we've got a lot of them between our Pro Wrestling Tees store and our Spreadshirt store. You can find the links at topropenation.com. But this shirt is excellent. I love it. I can't wait to place my order. And I think that's the one I'm going to send out to all of our new patrons that join in June for their free t-shirt. So that's the one that's going to be getting bulk ordered at the end of the month and sent out to all you guys who have joined up in the last couple of weeks and in the weeks ahead. So look forward to that one. And I just realized, guys, I didn't tell you about my Father's Day and what I was up to today, because I am pretty exhausted. I was debating if I was going to talk about this on the show or not, but damn it, I'm going to brag. I cut down probably a 30-foot tree in my backyard today.
It's a big ass.
Yeah. Yeah, that's right, man. Me and my dad took about 4 hours. We took down this dead tree in my backyard. Call me Paul Bunyan himself. It was quite the job. We got it done. I had a tree. It was dead. We've just moved into this house. We built this house just under a year ago. The builder is supposed to cover everything that goes wrong in the house or outside the house. This tree died within the first month we lived here. Of course, they're not covering it. They said that they would take it out just for the price of labor, $150. No way am I paying $150. So me and my dad, we took the chainsaw out there. We took it down ourselves.
Where's Clarence Mason when you need him? My God.
No kidding. Isn't that ridiculous? You move into a brand new house that's supposed to have a year of warranty. They clearly killed the tree when the sod was put in. I mean, this tree lost all of its leaves at the beginning of August. Trees don't lose their leaves at the beginning of August. And I sent them pictures. I had proof from last year and everything. Nope. They couldn't cover that under the warranty. So we took matters into our own hands. But I'm going to power through, guys. I'm tired. We got to talk about WWE Stomping Grounds. And we got to talk about WWE television this week, because Justin, who has notably been on a WWE television strike other than the pay-per-views in recent weeks, was pulled into Monday Night Raw on Monday. And Justin, how did that happen? And your thoughts on the show? Take it away.
Well, as I said before, I was sick. And Monday night, I was, just like, I'm going to go to bed early, maybe do a little reading, because I'd been on strike from Raw. So normally my routine is we put the boy down around 7:30, 8. And so I just came out here and I wait for the wife to get done putting him down, and decided to fire up the DVR because I don't want to start something that I'm not going to finish. And, being that I don't even watch Raw, I'm really no concerns of not finishing it. But I started, and, one of my, I guess, big problems with Raw for a long time has been they open with a big long promo, or, a couple promos that leads into a match that's really non-consequential. Whereas this one, opened with Elias and Seth Rollins throwing out that mandate about anybody who wants to be up for this refereeing gig, he's going to batter with the steel chair. I dug that. That led into a 5-man match with, outside of really Lashley, 5 guys I'm interested in, for a U.S. title shot, especially including Ricochet and Cesaro. And, I was an hour behind on the DVR, so I did do some fast forwarding, but it kind of hooked me from the start. I thought it was good.
Yeah.
Did Kyle want to say something there? He had his finger up.
I did not, but actually, I don't know. I must have randomly just done that. It must be my nervous tick.
Kyle, what did you think of Monday Night Raw this week?
I thought TV overall was better this week. I've got a lot of individual comments in my notes for the matches we're going to break down here for Stomping Ground, but the wild card rule, obviously a farce. I think it was Sean Ross Sapp, no relation. It tweeted, I think there was like 9 Raw guys that appeared on SmackDown this week, which is silly. But, they did a good job, or at least I guess the best they could, of building to these matches they've got on Sunday. It was pretty focused. There was not a lot of filler, other than that bizarre Anderson Gallows storyline, a Viking Raiders squash, and Andrade beating down Apollo Crews. I don't think there was anything on WWTV that wasn't building towards Sunday. So in that regard, having this wild card rule, I guess, kind of worked, although it exposes the brand split.
Yeah. And and I'll say for the Gallows and Anderson thing, I was interested in it because they're actually doing something with them. But then also just now I realized, well, they're just doing that to build up to the match in Japan, I'm assuming. But also my one nitpick with the Seth Rollins chair thing was him hitting Eric Young just seemed a very heel maneuver. So I don't know if maybe that's planting seeds for something down the road, but
I just think it was, what I liked about Raw, and I think I texted you guys this when we were talking about it, was the baby faces were actually portrayed as ass kickers that you would want to cheer for. I know this seems very, simple, but they don't do that a lot. The baby faces are kind of booked to look dumb a lot in this promotion or weak. And, this week, I'll talk about Seth, Roman. They were all booked strong. I think it was, there were a lot of Austin comparisons I saw with Seth Rollins, the way he was booked this week on Raw, where he was just hitting anybody with a chair. It didn't matter with Eric Young. And, Justin's not wrong what he just said, but I also didn't mind him hitting Eric Young. Because I think, we've talked about this before on this program, that Austin and the Attitude Era in general, but specifically Austin and Rock, really rewrote the rules of how a babyface gets over. Okay? And WWE post-Attitude Era, pretty much with Cena, tried kind of bottling that up and saying, well, forget all that. We're going to do it the traditional way again. And the fans have fought him on it ever since. And I don't think Eric Young, who is not featured on TV very much, is a guy who's going to draw a lot of sympathy for a chair shot. I don't think there are a lot of people saying, oh my God, I can't believe he hit Eric Young. He's one of my favorites.
Well, and I think it was just the execution of it where he gave a reason as to why he didn't want to do the ref.
And then he hit him from behind. And
he came off genuine. And it was the behind thing. And I kind of forgot to mention from the top, the main reason I fired up Raw was because beforehand I saw if they were going to do Rollins, Bryan. Mm-hmm. And so that was, I was hoping maybe they'd do that in the first or second hour. And it ended up keeping me enthralled enough that I stuck until the end to see that match.
Now that was sweet that they advertised that ahead. I agree. That kind of piqued my interest too. I thought Raw was good overall. I felt like kind of like Kyle was saying here, everything had a direction. It built to a logical point. I just felt like it was a well-paced show and everything meant something. If I'm getting nitpicky, I'm not quite sure in the main event why they did the run-in stuff. It kind of broke up the match. That was odd. But it was cool to see those two wrestling. But overall, I thought it was good. I actually would say I'd probably liked Raw better than SmackDown this week, which hasn't been the case much. A lot of that has to do with the length of the shows, but I definitely watched SmackDown and I watched Raw on my DVR. I didn't watch it live, but I did watch the whole show as the week went on, and pretty enjoyable watch. So I feel like WWE is going into this pay-per-view on a high note. It's a pay-per-view that doesn't have.
Well, let's define high notes.
Well, for them, I mean, because they've been so down. Television has been a slog. It's been awful for weeks and weeks and weeks, but they did have 2 pretty good shows this week. So, I mean, if you want to look at it with rose-colored sunglasses on, you could say that, hey, they're turning it around.
Yeah, I'll say this. I was prepared to absolutely annihilate this pay-per-view on this podcast. I'm going to be a little softer
Yeah.
in our preview. There's some positive things I have to mention, but there was a lot of things on Raw, I think, actually, that at least in the first half, that still kind of irked me. And I'll get to that when we preview match by match. I'll call back to some of the segments.
Okay. Yeah, but overall, I thought it definitely was television improvement this week. So they did a nice job there. I wouldn't call it like can't miss television or anything like that, but it at least seemed logically booked, well directed. So we've got that going for him heading into this weekend. Do we want to talk about this AEW story before we get to the preview? Stomping Grounds?
Meltzer's still building the bigger stadium, from what I understand.
Yeah, so we'll get to the Stomping Grounds preview here in just a second, but some of you tuning in probably want to hear about AEW.
Will Dave Meltzer Stadium hold 93,172 people?
I cannot believe. Did you read the story in the Observer, Kyle?
Yes.
Okay, I read it too. Some of this stuff, I'm not sure how it can be substantiated, but overall, super impressive sellout. In fact, as you guys both know, I was trying to get tickets that day, and in fact, I did not get tickets like most people. And I had two. Let's see.
So that means your whole family was trying to buy tickets, right?
No, but I had 3 windows open. I will say, and that's something I want to point out too, because yes, at one point the virtual waiting room said that there was like 72,000 people in line, and on all 3 of my windows, 2 on my laptop, 1 on my phone, I had different numbers. So people had multiple windows open. That's multiple numbers. So there wasn't really 72,000 people, but I'm not sure how many people actually are opening windows like that, like I was. But I will tell you, it was completely random because I had it open on my browser on my computer first, and then I turned on my phone like later, but my phone ended up getting the better number. I think I was like number 12,000 or something when they went on sale. Thought might have a chance, but nope, they were all snatched up before I got in. So I mean, it was a really quick sellout. Now AEW's tickets for their 2 other shows this summer are not selling as well. Those shows are not even sold out last I checked. But I mean, there's something about the Chicago market. They're heading back to where All In was, which kind of launched the promotion. So this one sold out faster than any show they've done so far. Probably the highest demand for tickets easily. Double or Nothing sold out right away too. That was very difficult to get tickets to, but this one had even more people. Now, does this mean they could sell out a stadium right now? Do you guys have any thoughts on that? Anyone want to get into this?
They could. Okay. What's kind of like frustrating about this whole thing is that people get into this debate and it takes away from the fact that no matter what math you want to use, it's fucking impressive.
Yes.
That this promotion with no television can do this. And yes, they absolutely could run bigger buildings. Whether or not they can draw a WrestleMania crowd, I don't know. Until they do it, you don't know. They probably could. If they announce something ahead of time and they have build with TV, they probably could. If they do it in the next 2 years, if they draw a WrestleMania, I won't be shocked at all.
Mm-hmm. No, I agree. I think they could run a stadium show for sure. I think the thing I took issue with was that this is the biggest demand for any show in the history of North American wrestling. I think that's a little overblown. I'm not sure how you can substantiate that claim. I thought some of the items in the Observer this week were a bit of a reach. I think Dave was getting into some stuff that he probably doesn't know about, and I'm sure he was told by people this information and he's going with it. But like the idea that there's something in there about, I should have had this pulled up so I could quote it verbatim, but something about like no WWE WrestleMania ever had this many people like trying to get ticket. How could you possibly know that? Like their Ticketmaster does not have a number on there so you can see how many people are looking at getting tickets. And Ticketmaster doesn't broadcast that information to anybody. Everybody knows Ticketmaster's super secretive, and most WrestleManias have gone on sale through Ticketmaster. I mean, we all remember the Manias back when they were in arenas. They'd sell out instantly. Some of that was due to pre-sales. Some of it wasn't. Now, there's something to be said for the fact that they're running a venue that seats like 11,000 people. So everyone knows if you want to go for that holiday weekend, you got to get the tickets immediately. It's not like a stadium show where they're going to last for a little while. So that has something to do with it too. Speaking of stadiums, Dave said in the Observer that even Soldier Field would not be big enough to hold this show.
Oh,
so Soldier Field is one of the smaller NFL stadiums. I think it seats like in the mid 60,000s, but then you can get several thousand on the floor, obviously, in a stadium. So there'd be more than 70,000 people there for a wrestling show. I thought that was an odd line. But yeah, I do think they are capable for a special event of drawing a stadium crowd. But the biggest interest ever in wrestling history, I think that might be a bit of a stretch. I don't think there's any way you could possibly know if that's the case or not. But as of right now, I do not have tickets. I am hoping to go at least as a member of the media. Now, if I do that, I will be working during it. So my original inclination was I was just going to go with a buddy of mine and take it in as a fan.
Will you be part of the liberal media?
So since I didn't get tickets that way, I'm still trying some other avenues, but bare minimum, I'm hoping to go and probably sit in media row if I have to, and I'll be covering the show that way, which would be pretty cool. But we'll see what happens. I'm planning on being there though. So we shall see, but it is going to be a huge weekend. A lot of people traveling in. What'll be interesting once AEW starts running shows every single week is how they do on ticket sales at that point, because obviously WWE is a company that runs at least 6 shows a week year round. This is more of a special event feel to it still, because they're running like 1 show a month. So we'll have to see what happens, and that'll be the true test to see how quickly shows sell out when they're running them every single week. Any other comments on that, guys?
I think you hit it pretty good.
All right. So that is AEW All Out coming over Labor Day weekend. We'll be covering it, of course, on the show.
That's such a bad weekend for me.
It's a busy weekend. It is, for sure.
It's such a football gets going. Like, God, why did they have to pick that week? I mean, I know why they did, because for most people, it's not a busy weekend, but
it's a good traveling weekend for people. And as we see, people are flying in from all over the country for that show because there's not a lot of shows to go to right now. So they're not coming to most people's neck of the woods anytime soon. So, Kyle, before we get into the Stomping Grounds preview, you said you wanted to do a follow-up on last week and lead us into this discussion. What do you got for us?
Yeah. So, okay, we were talking last week. If you missed the episode, it's in the archives. You can check it out. We were trying to come up with some constructive ideas to quote unquote fix WWE or help WWE. Well, what changes could you come up with? And we were throwing some things out, spitball, and a couple of things I didn't even mention. I had in my notes that after we were done, I was like, oh my God, I didn't even talk about this stuff. They need to cut down on the house show schedule. I just don't think their current house show schedule makes any sense for a lot of reasons. One is it leads to too many injuries, needless injuries. I think there should be more specialty Raw and SmackDowns. But another key the talking point I wanted to bring up to you guys, and I teased this at the end of the program, and I want to follow up on it here, is the old monthly pay-per-view format outdated? Because to me, Stomping Grounds is like a perfect example of that. Like, I feel this show is only taking place because it has to, and they have to have a pay-per-view in June.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, do you get that vibe a little bit?
Yeah, I think the bigger problem with this show is that they had the one in Saudi Arabia 2 weeks ago.
Yes. So, like, to me, I just feel like, okay, like this whole thing they do, it worked when the product was real hot. It worked, but when they're like just cycling it's like the way they do it now is they go full steam toward a show, okay, and there's not a lot of long-term booking. We know that. They do the show, and then it's like, okay, now we have a month to do the next show and a month to do the next. Like, I just feel that it's like, to me, I look at this card, and I almost think that they'd be better off doing like one of those nights in Japan. I know the TV's not building to a lot of it, or any of it, but like, if one of those nights should just be a network special instead of having this quote unquote old kind of tradition, what we know as a traditional pay-per-view. Because I look at that card in Japan, and maybe this is just an indictment of WWE television. I look at that card, I'm like, these are kind of more exciting matchups. By the way, the most Triple H move ever teaming up with AJ
Yes.
and the club. I mean,
Hey guys, here's my Bullet Club T-shirt. I'm here.
Hey boys, I heard you need a fourth. I'm here for you. Come on.
Yes.
That is the most Triple H move ever. My hat's off to you, Paul. You truly know how to play the game.
There's like no angle you could take for that whatsoever that makes sense for him to be in that match.
But you know what though? It kind of is more like I almost feel that if TV's that important, I almost feel like if you spread some of the matches out on Sunday that we're seeing over the course of Raw and SmackDown, I feel that would be like good TV. But, with this Stomping Grounds card, I got a big question here. What is the big hook for this show?
The special referee, I guess.
I mean, I guess, but
yeah.
you have this show, when I saw how close it was to Super Showdown in Saudi Arabia. And by the way, I want to say something, about my idea with the Japan show, maybe being a network special and going back to Super Showdown in Saudi Arabia. I am not, the only problem I really have with Super Showdown is where it took place. I'm not against those cards because it's different. I know, Goldberg, Undertaker wound up being a disaster in the end, but I'm not against that because it's just unique. Mm-hmm. And I feel that these shows that WWE TV builds to are like the least interesting specials on the network, quite frankly. But getting back to Stomping Grounds specifically, I don't know what the big hook is. I mean, this is a show in a traditional pay-per-view market that would just be a disaster. It's rematch heavy, the top 4 matches. And the problem is and Meltzer made this point, he was absolutely spot on. None of the matches were really that interesting the first time around. I'm talking about the 2 world title match, Seth Barron, Kofi Dolph, Roman Drew, and Becky Lacey. And, those 2 world title matches, you got weak challengers to boot that no one buys as winning.
Mm-hmm.
So, this was kind of a lot of the stuff I was thinking I was going to really hammer home before the TV this week, which made me a little bit more interested. But, man, this is a show that seems it only is taking place because it has to.
Absolutely. Yeah, I would say that the live specials, I really liked when they did those more often when the network first launched. Like they did the NXT Japan show, which was cool. They did the Beast in the East show. Or actually, it was the same one, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, he wrestled on the NXT. Yeah, that's right.
They had the Madison Square Garden special
Madison
show.
Square Garden one. I think one of the things I like so much about those is like we've talked about the stale design with the stage and everything. They had they had the house show stage, but on TV, which you're not used to seeing on TV. It made the shows just look different lighting rigs.
There's more people that are going to be at that show. You would want that to be, that's something you would want to be shown. Not this where they're trying to like give away tickets for God's sake.
Yeah. So I don't know. So is the monthly pay-per-view thing dead or not? I don't know. That's a tough question. I think personally, I'd prefer to just have like 4 or 5 pay-per-views a year easily, like the old days. I guess we can probably thank WCW for the monthly pay-per-views, right? That kind of goes back to them and then WWF launch it in your house.
They went to it first. Well, it was both kind of a simultaneous thing. So,
yeah.
The last month, I remember this because I actually watched like a Nitro recently. Eric Bischoff, what a son of a bitch he is, but I got to hand it to him. In January of '96, which was the last month either major company did not run a pay-per-view, Bischoff declared January of '96, quote, fan appreciation month in WCW. And while the other company, his words, I believe it's called Titanic Sports, is raising the price of their pay-per-view, we're giving you all of our content for free.
Speaking of Eric Bischoff, I'm going to throw a plug out here for another podcast because we kind of talked about this off air recently, but I just heard it the other day because I'd been going through the show over the last couple of weeks when I was working in the yard. But our guy, Liam O'Rourke, we've talked about this show. He's been on the show twice. He wrote the award-winning Brian Pillman book that
Crazy Eric Fox.
Yes, Eric Bischoff proceeded to trash for no reason whatsoever The fact he never even read the book. You can
Well,
check
there was a reason, but it was very self-serving.
well, it was it was. You're right. I shouldn't say no reason whatsoever, but it was a very poorly informed take he had on his podcast. And then we actually had Liam on our show last summer to respond. I think the same week that all happened.
Yep.
So check that out in our archives if you want. It was the second time Liam was on the show, but on Liam's podcast, Squared Circle Gazette, he's talking about his experience in Double or Nothing weekend in Las Vegas. And he actually came face to face with Eric Bischoff. And it's a hilarious story. Liam, I know you're out there listening. I enjoyed this very much. Was laughing to myself in the yard as I was mowing the lawn listening to this. I would highly recommend you guys check it out. Squared Circle Gazette Radio, because Liam got to tell Eric Bischoff face to face what he thought of his comments. And yes, it's highly entertaining. So anyways,
I thought Bischoff was a black belt.
Didn't sound too confrontational in the experience he had with Liam. I'll just say that.
Can't do karate in the elevator, huh?
Yeah, no. So anyways, back to the pay-per-view concept. I don't know. I think it is kind of reflective of a bygone era. This whole idea of a pay-per-view every month, because it was during the wrestling war. AEW is not planning on doing one a month as of right now.
Nor should they. But
No.
I just think that I just think the way they book is just like I hate how they waited for Super Showdown to be over to essentially start putting this card together. That was my worst fear when I saw how close they were together. And I was like, oh God, just don't do like rematches of these two title matches. And they did. And like everything just feels very like rushed and thrown together. Whereas there was really no reason. And I'm going to go into some specific talking points with the matches, but there was really no reason to do those two title matches in Saudi Arabia, was there? Like, why not just hold like did that card really need those two title matches? They weren't. I mean, you could argue they were third and fourth from the top.
Mm-hmm.
And there was the Battle Royal too.
Yeah.
I mean, so I don't know, man.
What do you think, Justin? 12 pay-per-views too much, one a month?
No, I mean, if the product was good and they were writing good stories, we wouldn't be having the discussion. Part of the problem is the Super Showdown so close to Stomping Grounds, where they do have this drive-through express booking. But if they were telling good stories, we would have no problem with it. Now, having said that, if you want to fix it in today's problems, maybe instead of a 3-hour special, you shorten it to 2, make it more of like a takeover. You don't have to put every title or every, superstar on the match. Just book the important stuff. Make it feel like an actual special. Like these are the matches that matter.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I'll say this. I'm not necessarily saying that there shouldn't be 12 big network specials, what we kind of know as a pay-per-view throughout the course of the year. I just think the way they're you have to have one in July, because July is, by God, it's that time of the year for Extreme Rules with WWE. Stop it. I just feel like if they happen more organically, like this show, again, it's just like, well, we have to have a June pay-per-view. But
yeah,
you really don't.
Well, I do think, though, that there's something to be said for having the branded shows that they have like every year, because at least they have the possibility to build up some prestige. Stomping Grounds, we joked back in the day about Great Balls of Fire, just changing it all the time. Like there's nothing prestigious about the show. There's nothing to harken back to remember last year at Stomping Grounds,
Okay, so hold on. I'm glad you brought that up, because Justin and I each had an opening salvo, so I wanted to make sure you got that in. Did you have anything else?
No.
Okay. So I remember we texted when this show was announced, and you were like apoplectic about the name.
I think that might be an exaggeration.
No, you were pretty pissed. I mean, you were like, you were like, this is the worst name in the history of wrestling.
I think you don't get my sarcasm sometimes, Scott. I mean, I do think it was a bad name.
I'm going to turn. Well, hold on. I want to turn sarcasm on my phone here. It was off. It was off. I apologize. It was off. Okay. The problem with first of all, I think
it is a terrible name, though. Yes,
it is. It's like most of the other non-Big Four names. It's what corporate people would call a wrestling pay-per-view: Vengeance, No Mercy, Unforgiven, Judgment Day, Armageddon. Like, none of it means anything. Like, if I asked you guys what happened at No Mercy 09, was there even a No Mercy 09, to be honest with you? I don't know.
Yeah, 09 sucked.
No way out. Like that, like it doesn't mean anything. This Stomping Grounds, it appears from WWE television this week, it is just an excuse for Michael Cole to say WWE is kicking ass and taking names this Sunday.
Yeah, it's bad. It's real bad.
I think they should name it Curb Stomping Battlegrounds.
Yeah. Battleground.
Actually.
The worst one, I think the worst single WWE pay-per-view name ever was when they shortened the Great American Bash to The Bash. That was 09. Remember, like, McMahon. Vince thought, like, the reason, like, oh, well, it's a WCW name. That's why it's not drawing. So let's just change the Great American Bash to The Bash.
Oh, or Clash of Champions and not Clash of the Champions.
Oh, boy. That's another, yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's get into it. Let's break it down match by match. Before I do, I left this out at the beginning of the show, but of course, guys, if you are an Apple podcast right now, if you hit subscribe, if you leave us a 5-star rating, we'd greatly appreciate it. Leave us an actual review with text for me to read on air. We love to read the reviews on the air. It's been a few weeks since we've had a new one. We did have a new 5-star rating come in this week because I saw the overall number tick up, but no review. So if you leave us a review, we'll leave it, or we'll read it on the show. We'll leave it out here for all the listeners. And then, of course, Spotify, TuneIn, Stitcher, wherever podcasts are found, same thing. Subscribe to the show. Check out topropenation.com. You can check out the links there for our Patreon page. And, of course, all of our merchandise, like I was getting into earlier with our Pro Wrestling Tees store, and the brand new T-shirt was just released earlier today. So with Stomping Grounds, we don't know what the pre-show matches are at this point. There's been rumors that they could add a Usos Revival tag team title match on the Raw side, but it hasn't been announced yet.
I think that was just started by Dave, to be honest with you, wasn't it?
Well, I mean, it makes sense though from a logical perspective if they want to get those guys on the show. Not that there's a lot of depth in the tag division, but it would make sense the way the past few weeks have gone. We do know Bryan and Rowan are defending the SmackDown titles against Heavy Machinery, which is, of course, exactly what you want to see Daniel Bryan doing at a show in Washington. I guess the story here is going to be if Bryan can get the crowd to boo him or not. Looking at the show here, we got 9 matches. I would assume they'll save 8 for the pay-per-view. And if that's the case, it's probably like always going to be the Cruiserweight match on the pre-show, or maybe New Day and Owens.
Yeah,
and Zayn.
I could see that being a pre-show match.
Yeah, one of those is probably going to be on the pre-show, but I guess we'll just start out with the tag title match, since that's what we were talking about here a second ago when I brought up the rumored match. So Bryan and Rowan, Heavy Machinery, obviously Bryan and Rowan are going to retain here. That's probably going to be a theme for most of these tag team, or most of the title matches, I should say, throughout the card. Now, I did think on SmackDown, Bryan was pretty damn good on commentary.
Yes.
It was an entertaining listen.
Yes.
And I love the line. I wrote this on my review over at Comic Book. I love the line where he was talking about how these guys should not be trying to be the new bushwhackers. They should be trying to be the sheep herders. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, look them up on the network.
Yeah, that was great. And the subtle dig at his, I guess, father-in-law, John Laurinaitis, was great too. When Corey Graves was like, whatever happened to that guy who used to wave the flag for the sheep herders?
Yeah.
that was good stuff.
Bryan was really good. I mean, you could tell he got pretty good at talking on the microphone when he was out of action for a few years. But
and another great line he had, I have this in my notes here, is Byron Saxton was like, when Otis was ready to do the caterpillar, and Byron Saxton's like, Daniel, this could be you. And Brian's like, what are you talking about? I'll just move. That was outstanding stuff.
Yeah.
Oh, by the way, speaking of the sheep herders, I just saw before we went on the air that the hidden gem this week on the network, Crockett Cup 86.
Oh, yeah.
It's going
about that.
And the Dave Meltzer gave the sheep herders 5 stars against the Fantastics at that show. I'm interested I have never seen the complete version of that match. I don't know if we're getting the chopped up cut that was released. So I'm very interested to watch that coming up soon. If it's the chopped up version that I've seen, or if they have the match in full.
Yeah, this was a hidden gem that I guess all of the, on my Twitter feed, all of the hardcore, like involved in the business types were really excited about. Everyone was talking about this afternoon. So I haven't fired it up yet.
Deal at that time. The Crockett
yeah.
Cup
Oh yeah.
It was way bigger than either the 87 or 88 version because it was a joint production with Mid-South.
Mm-hmm.
It was held in New Orleans.
And it's interesting because the NWA just brought back the Crockett Cup. So timing, no coincidence, probably. All right. So I would assume we're all going with Brian and Rowan here. Anyone disagree? Justin, you're kind of like the Karnak the Magnificent here on the show. So there's a reference for the older listeners. Any disagreement from you, Mr. Joint?
That's a Kevin Nash reference, by the way.
Kevin Nash is my new favorite pro wrestler of all time. Check out his Twitter feed to see what I am talking about. That's all I'm going to say on that. No disagreement. All right.
Well, I did want to say a couple things. Heavy Machinery, they are the Bushwhackers 2K19, unfortunately. Yeah. You made mention of this, Ryan. I have it in my notes as well. God, you feel that Brian should be in a better spot than this, particularly in Tacoma, where he's likely to be cheered. I kind of almost feel like this is a title shot out of necessity for Heavy Machinery because there's really no one else to challenge Brian and Rowan here. And it's kind of too bad because I think Heavy Machinery do have the potential to really get over as an act, like as an opening card act.
Yeah.
But they may just be forgotten if they lose here. And I don't think they've had the appropriate time to, a big thing with WWE these days is they don't get max potential out of these matches. And I think if Heavy Machinery had more time to get over this match, which admittedly is not going to mean much in the grand scheme of things no matter what, I think there was more potential for this. And by the way, what happened to the Usos beating Daniel Bryan clean at Money in the Bank?
Nothing.
Yeah. Very interesting. Bryan and Rowan will retain, though.
Yes. All right. The cruiser title match, Tony Nese defending against Akira Tozawa and Drew Gulak. They had the double pin a couple weeks ago on 205 Live to set this up, where they were trying to crown a new number one contender.
Great match.
Have you guys been tuning in to 205 Live consistently at all?
Nope.
Yeah.
Consistently, no. Last week's episode was very good. I really recommend it for the 4-way, which I liked better than Seth Rollins, AJ Styles, and Money in the Bank. I think if you, I don't know, I guess it depends how you classify 205 Live. Is it main roster or not? I think other than Daniel Bryan and Kofi at Mania, I think it was the best main roster match of the year in the WWE, that 4-way.
Isn't it odd how the shows that Vince McMahon has the least control or awareness of are always the best shows? Like everyone's always talking about 205 Live is really good. NXT, of course. Like Vince probably has no idea what's really happening on those shows for the most part.
Here's a comment. I thought WWE TV last week, not this past week, but last week was tremendous. Except Raw and SmackDown. I really recommend 205 Live with the 4-way and Jack Gallagher, Chad Gable.
Gallagher is really good. I always love watching Jack Gallagher.
Great take by Ryan. Love Ryan Drosty with all
finally.
That. Oh, there we go.
There we credit on this show.
Okay,
there we go.
Okay, the term underrated is overused, but you want to talk about 3 guys currently employed by Titan Sports that are underrated: Oney Lorcan, Jack Gallagher, Drew Gulak. These are guys I want on my TV more.
Yeah, I think you could throw Chad Gable in there too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think you could. But God, I just Drew Gulak is just an absolute freaking beauty, in my opinion.
Is he going to win the Cruiserweight Championship in this match?
I'd like to see him because Tony Nese does absolutely nothing for me. But I feel that they should, since 205 Live went into its own universe, there's only been 2 title changes. I feel that they maybe they shouldn't do it like every month, but I wouldn't be opposed to it. I could also see Tozawa getting it, going over to Japan.
Yeah, that's true. I think we got in a second ago with title matches, and I said this is going to be kind of a theme. Most of the odds makers are not seeing any championships changing hands on this show. But
I've not seen the odds. Can you Can you link it?
Yeah, I believe all the champions are favored when I looked earlier today. But if you had to pick a match where there's maybe a chance at it, it's probably this one or one I'll mention here in a little bit. But and all of the champions are favored. So Tony Nese, Gulak, Tozawa. I think I'm just I'll pick Nese here, but I wouldn't be shocked if they changed titles here.
I'm rooting for Drew Gulak.
I think they could do something with Gulak getting the win, but not over the champion, and kind of keep the feud going.
Okay. All right. Well, then this brings us to the New Day, which would be Big E and Xavier Woods, of course, taking on Owens and Sami Zayn. No stakes at this one, just a straight up tag team match. So like we said a second ago, you could see this one possibly happening on the pre-show. A lot of interaction on TV. Not anything at stake though, like I said. So I don't really have a whole lot of interest on this. I think it's a sleeper match though that could be one of the better ones on the show. I think the match after this is probably going to be the match of the show that I'll get to in a second. But I feel like this is a sleeper pick, even though it's not for a title or anything, and most of the matches otherwise have something in that regard. I do feel like they could put on a pretty damn good match, and it could be a sleeper pick for in that conversation of best match of the night. What do you guys think on this one, Kyle?
Yeah, New Day. What was that? SummerSlam a couple years ago. They weren't fooling around when they were on the pre-show against the Usos. That's the best pre-show match company.
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
The term buried, overused in wrestling analysis, in my opinion. That being said, Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn have been beaten like a drum over the last month or so. My goodness. Here's two guys who come back with different characters, okay, after injuries, but they're back in the same spot. They were pre-injury.
Mm-hmm.
Owens fake joining the New Day, turning on them, and then losing the title match, all done way too quick. That was like they just blew through that. Imagine if they had held off on the turn, done Kofi and Bryan at Money in the Bank, which could have been done instead of giving away for free on Raw, which they did. And then they held off the Owens turn for this show. You'd have a fresh match, and you'd also spare us from frickin' Dolph Ziggler, who I'll get to in a moment. I get that Owens didn't want to work Saudi Arabia, but that show didn't need a SmackDown title match. And again, this could be your first Kofi Owens meeting. It is tough to get excited about all this after all the Owens and Zayn losing. And one more thing. I talked about some things. Yeah, okay, Raw was better, but there were a few things here and there that irked me, maybe nitpicking. This is one of them. In that six-man scenario we saw where it was Owens, Zayn, and Corbin against New Day, wouldn't it have been more intriguing if Owens or Zayn had agreed to be the ref, but then that heel miscommunication led to them rescinding? Rather than saying, oh, well, we're not going to do it. But we'll still team with you. We still like you. Just throwing that out there. I think Owens and Zayn have to win this match, actually. It wouldn't hurt New Day to lose either.
Yeah. Justin.
Yeah, I agree. Outside of, Big E just returning, and then, I guess you can always have Xavier eat the pin, but I'm going to go Sammy and Kevin Owens. They need it.
I am also picking Owens and Sammy. I think they need it. I'm also picking it for another reason. I don't know if you guys have seen this, but the local advertising for the pay-per-view in Philadelphia next month has the WWE title match as Kofi taking on Owens and Ziggler in a triple threat. So basically, he would be facing the last two guys that challenged him at the previous two pay-per-views. So
not Dolph Ziggler.
More Dolph Ziggler for you. So that would be Extreme Rules next month. That's it. Now, local advertising often does change. Yeah. At one point, they were advertising it to be Kingston versus Orton versus Owens. So they've subbed in now Dolph for Orton. But either way, it seems like Owens is going to be involved. So if he's going to be involved, he's got to get the win here, in my opinion. So I'll go with Owens and Zayn.
He did kind of tease it in a promo on Raw too, didn't he? Didn't he say something effective as like, oh, and if you manage to get by Dolph this Sunday, I'm looking for another match.
Yeah. So makes sense. So that's what I'll go with there. The next one is the U.S. title match, which I think will probably be the match of the show, in my opinion. Samoa Joe with Ricochet challenging him. Really looking forward to seeing this match here. I don't see a title change happening, but I think Joe will retain, personally.
Your boy Rick O'Shea, not what's going with him?
The Irish superstar.
Yeah.
Rick O'Shea. No, yeah, I've been really high on Ricochet in the past on the show many times, back when he was on the Indies as well. But I just feel like it's too soon to take the title off of Joe. Justin, what do you think on this one?
Totally agree with you. All they need to do in this match is let them go for a while. Give them at least 10 minutes. Let them have a kind of a hard-hitting match that these two guys could do. And even if Ricochet loses, he's already lost, a handful of matches since he's come up. Drag this feud out until SummerSlam, where Ricochet can get the win in the title.
Yeah, there you go. Kyle.
Wow, some Rick O'Shea fans you are. Oh.
Just being real, man. Just being real with you.
I don't know. It'll be interesting. Stylistically, how these guys are going to match up. Joe is a great promo, a great character. He's not what he was in the ring, though. I'm not sold that this is going to be a home run. It could be really good, but I'm not sold that this is like a slam dunk home run.
The other part of it is if Ricochet wins, for all the singles titles, you're looking at all babyface champions.
This is a babyface promotion. I think you can't go wrong with either guy as a champ here, but I'm leaning Ricochet. I just love saying it that way.
Stop saying it now.
Yeah. Because I always go back to this. I say this a lot of times. Joe being viewed as the, quote, utility player by management. Obviously talented enough to deserve a long title run. There's no disputing that. But I got to think Ricochet, God damn it, Ricochet may need the title more now. Joe is a guy who probably doesn't need a title. Certainly deserving of one, but I don't think he needs it. Again, something with Raw. So I'm going to pick Ricochet. There were some psychology issues I had with that 5-way on Raw where Ricochet won. One was getting the pin on fellow babyface Braun Strowman after the heel cheating. I thought that was just horribly executed. I was very happy to see Dave Meltzer rip on it as well. And then it also came down to face versus face, him and Miz. I thought that was a little strange. Two push baby faces.
Yeah. Well, we'll see. We're split on this one. I'm still going with Samoa Joe, but hey, I'm not saying I would mind Ricochet being U.S. champion. I would like to see it, but
like I said, I don't think you can't go wrong with either of these guys as champ. And Ryan, to your point, I don't see a lot of titles changing hands on the show, and they're going to change one. There's no way all the champions are going to retain. Mm-hmm. And so this is the one that, I kind of looked at. I was like, yeah, I think.
Yeah. All right. Let's go on to, let's go with one of the women's matches next. So let's go with Becky and Lacey Evans first. This one's interesting because I don't see Becky Lynch losing the championship here, but how do they do this? Because Lacey is someone that they have plans for moving forward. I think she is going to be a star in the women's division. Obviously, she's still kind of coming along in the ring, but I think she plays the character well. I'm more interested to see her down the line evolve and start telling her real life story, which is probably more interesting than this Southern Belle thing she's doing right now. But she is someone they have big plans for from all accounts. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, she's going to lose here. If she loses here, where does Lacey Evans go? I mean, what happens with her to keep her as someone that's featured in the promotion, Kyle?
Well, I don't know. Justin, I remember we were talking about this. I remember he said it. I think it was our previous show for Money in the Bank, and he was spot on. This is booking yourself into a corner, this feud, because you had Becky, your new hot champion, against this brand new challenger who you have high plans for. What do you do? And we saw the Money in the Bank scenario, and I'm going to get into that in a minute. I was I was kind of alone, Ryan. You remember we did our post show. I criticized the hell out of that. Mm-hmm. The Bayley Money in the Bank, how the whole thing played out. And I'm going to get back to that and defend myself in a moment, because I think the psychology of this thing is all screwed up. And I'll just make one point on the booking yourself a corner. I think it's pretty obvious to me they should have called up Shayna Baszler and left Lacey Evans at NXT. If they just wanted to bring up somebody, a credible person to put over Becky, somebody who had far more credibility than Lacey, quite frankly, it should have been Shayna Baszler. Could have played right off the Ronda Rousey feud.
Oh yeah, for sure. They would have tied right in with that.
That was the call, in my opinion. That's not to besmirch Lacey Evans, because I'm with you. I do think she has potential. But the psychology here, and I apologize if any other podcast has brought this up or anyone has written about it. I haven't seen it or heard it. But the psychology here is bad. So the Becky character, because a lot of people complained when this match was announced, like, what the heck is Lacey doing a match? It's like, well, okay. Lacey did cost Becky the SmackDown Women's title at Money in the Bank, right?
Yeah.
And so Becky's character is right to want revenge for that. But there's a problem. How did that scenario end at Money in the Bank for those keeping score at home? A feel-good moment with Bayley cashing in Money in the Bank. So from the fans' perspective, the heat's kind of gone here, because people should be thinking when they, in the build of this match, oh, that's right, that no good Charlotte's got the belt now. That damn Lacey Evans cost Becky. But it's not the case, why I was so adamant on our recap show last month that entire Money in the Bank scenario with Bayley winning the title undermined Becky Lynch, and I stand by it right now on June 20th, 2019 in Top Rope Nation.
There we go.
And Lacey's been booked terribly since that first match too. They've done her no favors. You cannot, after Becky winning at WrestleMania, have her lose both titles within 3 months. You cannot do that.
Let's bring back memories, Kyle. That was a hell of a broadcast we had. That was an edition of Top Rope Nation Extra. You can find it on Patreon, where we reviewed Money in the Bank. But Kyle was pretty fired up, just as fired up as he is tonight still, several weeks later. I like it. So,
I want to know if I'm right now from Justin, though. I want to know.
Yeah. What do you think, Justin?
Karnak the Magnificent.
Becky Lynch.
Simply put, Becky Lynch. All right. Yeah, I don't know what they do with Lacey here, but I agree with you. I think that's a really good take as far as should have been Shayna. Lacey could have used some more time down there in NXT, obviously in the ring.
For credibility purposes, Lacey Evans.
Yeah, she's out for revenge for her friend, too.
And Lacey could have been NXT Women's Champion.
Yeah.
I think if you literally reverse the roles of Shayna Baszler and Lacey Evans, everyone is better for it.
Yeah. Well, the 4 horsewomen were at SmackDown on Tuesday night. Not sure if you guys saw that or not. Obviously, they were not used on the broadcast, but all 4 of them were there. So, yes. Okay. Reigns and McIntyre.
What about Are we not doing Bayley and Alexa?
Yeah, I was going to go to that one after.
Okay.
I was going to split up the women's matches here. So, Reigns and McIntyre. Is this going to be a better match than we got at Mania, guys? I guess that's the big question. I would hope so. Hopefully we'll have a little more time. I mean, this is a match that has potential to be pretty good. I actually
think this could be a show stealer potentially.
I think.
Am I crazy?
I think this, more than any other match, needs to be a show stealer.
For
both guys' sake.
That's a great point.
Because they have damn near killed all the goodwill and momentum they had with Roman Reigns, and kind of the same thing. They've really pushed McIntyre into a corner too. They're driving him down that same lane as they did Braun Strowman, where they had a super heel on their hands, and they kind of screwed the pooch. So they need a great match out of both these two, and if one of them needs a win, it's Drew McIntyre. But to keep this stupid feud going with Shane McMahon, Roman Reigns is going to get the win.
Okay, interesting. What's your pick here, Kyle?
So I really enjoyed the angle on Raw. I really, really liked it a lot. I thought that was, to Justin's point about, that they've kind of pissed away some of the goodwill with Roman. That's true. But the crowd was cheering Roman. And he was, again, booked like an ass kicker. The heel said something he didn't like, and he just went up there after him. And he speared Shane. He threw Drew to the table. Good stuff. That was good stuff. Everyone came across well, I think, in that whole scenario. Yeah, I also liked earlier in the show when the Revival picked up the money, by the way.
Highlight of the show.
That was tremendous. And Drew did acknowledge his past relationship with Heath Slater and 3-man band, which was a real hoot as well. I'm going to go back to something I said post-WrestleMania when I talked about this match and how it was kind of lost in the shuffle in East Rutherford. I said, wouldn't this be a lot better if it was a first-time meeting?
Yeah.
Gonna reiterate it again right now because it would be a lot better if it was a first-time meeting. The match will be better this time around. I'm fairly confident here. Again, to Justin's point, I'm a little worried about Drew's fate if he were to lose here. Because is he then just destined to be a henchman for Shane McMahon? And is this just like, is Drew just a setup man for the quote-unquote bigger match between Roman and Shane?
Well, and not only that, I mean, it's like, is he just going to continue to be like one part of a group, you know, coming in with Dolph and then going on to with Baron Corbin and Bobby Lashley, and now he's McMahon's lackey? I mean, they need to do something new with him. Like, let him stand on his own.
I thought he and the Revival were dressed well, though.
If you want to see Drew McIntyre dressed well, I think it's the Triple H special on the network. You get to see him in a Guns N' Roses Use Your Illusion shirt.
I fucking love Justin Joint with all my heart and soul. I saw that too, and I was in tears. I was in absolute tears. I said that to a buddy of mine who doesn't even watch wrestling, and he thought it was great. You know, I will say this with Drew. We talked about this post. I think it was on our Mania recap show, that it seemed like he was kind of missing something. You know, I didn't know if it was fair at the time to pin it all on the booking. You look back on his last 5-6 months, maybe it was just the fact that he's lost a couple matches that's hurt. But I don't hate the idea of him being associated with Shane McMahon. I don't like the idea of him being a setup man for Roman to, you know, for Roman and Shane to be a bigger match. I don't like that.
You know, and that's the thing, going back to like them trying to kill the momentum and goodwill they had with Roman Reigns. You had this good feud. Like, basically, they took Miz's good feud with Shane McMahon and gave it to Roman.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and both Roman and Miz are kind of like, you know, hurting a little bit as baby faces. And, you know, it's like both of them want a match, again, with Shane McMahon. You know, yeah. Elias, who is, you know, I mentioned this last week, Elias in Overact. No one's going to dispute that. Certainly not the Luthez of our generation. But like, you know, Roman beat him in like a 30-second squash at Money in the Bank. Yeah. But then Roman loses to Shane. I got a lot of problems where this is going. And it's kind of a tough booking quandary. What do you think, Ryan? Because I'm going to make my pick after yours.
Okay. Well, we're going to have to go into this by looking at what's advertised once again for next month at Extreme Rules at the Wells Fargo Center in Philadelphia. The website is currently listing Roman Reigns versus Shane McMahon and Drew McIntyre in a 1-on-2 handicap match.
Yes, shades of The Rock versus Booker T and Shane.
You know, Shane McMahon has to get his comeuppance from Roman eventually here, which is probably going to happen next month. I'm going to go ahead and say I'm going to pick McIntyre here. I think both guys need a win. I think McIntyre really needs it, so I'm going to go with Drew, and then we'll get to Extreme Rules next month, and Roman will get his win back. I think that's what I'm going with.
Yeah, you could do a screwy finish here, where like, you know, like it's the same as Shane with the Super Showdown, like where the heels just interfere.
Yeah.
You know what sucks about that? It's just, would they lose anything by just giving Drew a clean win? Doesn't that help everybody?
I wouldn't actually beat Roman clean.
Oh, well, you're a mark.
Oh, here we go. I wouldn't.
How do you love him now, Kyle?
Okay, hold on. Hold on. That's with a caveat, an asterisk, if you will. Had Roman not lost to Shane McMahon 2 weeks ago, I'd be more open to that idea.
Yeah, that was a ridiculous decision, no matter how you cut it. You said it last week, Kyle. Under no circumstances, no matter what kind of smoke and mirrors you pull out there, no matter how screwy the finish is, Roman Reigns should not be losing to Shane McMahon under any circumstances.
No, he shouldn't. He's the big dog of the World Wrestling Federation.
Yeah. So, yeah, I'm going with Drew. What's your pick, Kyle?
Roman.
All right. So 2 Romans and 1 Drew. All right. Sounds good. Let's go to the Women's SmackDown Championship match. We've got Bayley defending against Alexa Bliss. Now, I thought the segment on SmackDown with these two was really good. It seemed like it kind of mixed in maybe some real life backstage scenarios there between the two of them. Like you could easily imagine what Alexa was saying happening down in NXT. They've wrestled before, obviously.
Didn't come off as scripted.
No, it was very, very good. It made me more interested in this match than I was before. I think the finish around this is going to kind of revolve around what the plan is with Nikki Cross, obviously down the line. Now, I did find it interesting on Raw that Bayley was getting booed. They were cheering the Alexa Nikki team, especially Nikki was getting cheers in the backstage segment.
The booze. Yeah. You heard the booze, JR.
So the thing is, like, what route do they want to take here? Does Nikki inadvertently cost Alexa the match, and they do that breakup angle here with those two right away?
Way too soon.
Yeah.
Which means it's happening.
Oh, dear God, no.
Or does a title change happen? Now, Bayley hasn't been champion long, obviously.
Yeah.
But it's been a long time since Alexa Bliss has had a championship as well. This was the one I was getting to earlier where I said outside of the cruiserweight match, I think this one is the next best option where there could possibly be a title change. I'm not sure I'm confident in picking a title change here, but like I said, it all comes down to what kind of scenario they have planned with Alexa and Nikki. I think you could go both ways there, but if Alexa became champion, you could do the slow build to the breakup, or maybe Nikki gets jealous or something, or they have heat building up over weeks and weeks and weeks. But I don't know. I'm not quite sure who I'm going to pick on this yet, so I'm gonna throw it out to you guys first, Justin.
I just think it's too soon to take it off Bayley. I think they're doing something with her character. I think they are actually kind of slowly turning her heel. So I think you keep it on her and let Alexa Bliss and Nikki Cross feud.
I do like the new wrinkle to Bayley's character. I will say, finally, much needed. We've talked about this a lot in the past with Bayley and her character, but she hasn't exactly had long championship reigns before with the WWE here. So we'll see if they're going to give her that kind of confidence. Kyle?
I would not be opposed to a title change here. It is a short list of people that are booked to the best of their ability on the main roster. There's no disputing that. Alexa Bliss's name is probably on that list, though, isn't it?
Say that again.
List of people booked to the best of their ability on the main roster.
Oh, okay.
It's very short. Alexa Bliss's name was the first one that comes to mind for me, and I already had that down in my notes, after Raw, and then that SmackDown segment happened, which I agree with you. I thought was very good, and I'm thinking to myself watching this, I'm like, is Alexa Bliss just better than Bayley on the WWE main roster?
Yes, she is.
Because you peaked in NXT.
It's true. I've been saying it for almost 3 years on this show. I mean, you're right. I mean, it's hard to find someone on the roster that has been booked better, to be honest. But it has been a long time since she's been champion. So
yeah, but I just think that
she was out of action with an injury for a long time. But
I just think she is one of those people. She can get herself over without wrestling. Yeah, and I don't know. I'm gonna go hot takeville here. Okay, somewhere along the line, that just became de-emphasized by critics and people who watch wrestling, where it's like, oh well, it's just all about the wrestling. Folks who can if you want to get over on this main roster, you got to find a way to stay over without just not your in-ring work. And Miz is another example. Yes, Elias is someone who could. I mean, it's a gimmick, but still, Miz is another good example. I think, but these are people who, yeah, okay. The WWE has. We talked about it. The Moxley interviews shined a light on it. It's got these inherent issues, but there are some people, and it is a short list, like I said, who can still. And they, of course, will have their misses, just like anybody else. But they can, make chicken salad sometimes out of chicken shit. And, Bliss is very good. Meltzer brought up the last time these two did a program, it did not end well for Bayley. Was that last year? Or was that 2 years ago in San Jose? There was a title match, and Alexa just kind of beat her pretty cleanly.
Mm-hmm.
You guys remember that?
Mm-hmm.
So, okay, the scenario was not booked well from Bayley's perspective, but, I was just thinking, kind of watching that segment of SmackDown, Alexa Bliss is just maybe the better of the two. And I love this Alexa Nikki Cross storyline a lot. I think it's something you drag out a while.
Mm-hmm.
And Justin hit on the key for me because I was struggling because I'm like, man, I think I could see a title change here. But it just after that Money in the Bank thing you just did, it feels too early to take it off Bayley. And Alexa has this Nikki Cross storyline to fall back on.
That's true. I mean, I'm kind of thinking though in the back of my mind too, though, is if she loses to Bayley here, where do they go if they're not doing a breakup angle right away? So I don't
know. Maybe Nikki comforts her.
I feel like the way WWE books is that Nikki helps Alexa win here. Alexa wins the title. Next month, Bayley faces Nikki, and then Bayley and Alexa have the rematch at SummerSlam.
Okay.
It just seems like how they would book this.
Not out of this world.
I think it's more interesting with what's going on with Alexa and Nikki. I feel like it's more interesting to put the title on her and add that to the story right now. Now, I agree with what you said, and I said that I do think Alexa's been better on the main roster. Don't mistake me. Bayley is better between the ropes wrestling, but overall character,
she's not as over with the audience. She is. No,
Alexa Bliss is a better quote unquote superstar on the main roster. She has been.
She is viewed. Yes, she is. And people can poo-poo that all they want, turn their nose up at it. You're wrong, pal. Not Ryan, but imaginary person who's turning up their nose. Yeah. Alexa Bliss to the WWE audience projects more as a star. Full Sail University is not indicative of the wrestling, of the WWE universe necessarily. Mm-hmm. It just isn't.
I've talked myself into it. I'm going with the title change here.
Wow.
Yep. I'm going with it. We'll see.
I'm with Bayley.
It makes more sense. Like, it's more interesting with what's going on with the team with Nikki Cross. And I agree with you guys. Nikki Cross has been awesome in this story. And I think you just add the championship belt into what's going on there and they can have some good segments. And yeah, we'll see. We'll see. But I'm going with the title change. You both are taking Bayley?
Yeah, I could, though, God, I can see like Nikki sacrificing herself to like get Alexa the win.
Yeah, she looked pretty torn by what Alexa did to Bayley on SmackDown.
Oh, yes.
That's true.
I don't think she liked that.
Mm-hmm.
I think she's starting to realize she's being used.
Yeah, that was
already.
Well, dude, it's WWE booking.
Give me Give me a 6-month storyline on this.
Is this the most interesting match on this card? We've had the most discussion on this match, I think, guys.
It's. I thought that the television did as good a job. Sorry, that was like.
Yeah, that was bad.
What were you gonna say, Justin?
I was gonna just this and Ricochet and Joe.
It is. I think the television sold it. If you want to go by old school wrestling, use TV to build the pay-per-view. Bayley and Alexa hit it out of the park on Tuesday night. So
and Monday the stuff.
And Monday was good too. Yeah.
Although I will say this, that pre-tape maybe it wasn't pre-tape. It was like the Bayley, Natty, Naomi random conversation that Charlie Caruso updated with, Alexa is making these remarks about you on social media. That was bad.
Yeah, I haven't really liked how they've been mixing that in. And did you see what she liked on Twitter? And I don't know.
I don't hate that. I just thought it was so awkward, and I thought like Bayley didn't respond very well.
Well, the thing about what she liked, she didn't actually like it. So it's like the fans can go look and see what she's liked, and if she hasn't done it, it's kind of, I don't know.
Ryan Drosty, Twitter police.
That's right. Can't get anything by me on there. Let's go with the SmackDown title match, the steel cage match, Kofi and Dolph Ziggler. I mean, it could be a pretty good match, but Dolph wasn't great on SmackDown, as you said in our text thread, Kyle. You were really negative on Dolph Ziggler.
Dude, that promo blew. I'm sorry, man. Like, look, scripted promos, we could talk about it. His delivery sucked the big one. And it always does. He just starts like yelling.
Mm-hmm.
And I know I'm yelling right now, so maybe I'm a hypocrite. But that promo was absolute 169% cow dung.
It was not good.
And why does he, as a heel, have an American flag on his tights?
Oh, I think we know why.
I mean, I know the right wing is co-opted patriotism, but come on, that should not matter in the world of professional wrestling.
It's in a weird spot though. Like he's got it right on the back of his ass. The American flag. Come on.
Yeah, that's reserved for Pittsburgh. Come on. Bret Hart told everybody.
Yeah.
I was thinking about that on the other night on TV though. Like, why would you put it there? Like put it on the side or something. I don't know. It just seems odd.
Okay. I hate the show stealer gimmick. I've been very vocal about this in the past. Can you name, between the two of you, name me 3 shows that Dolph has, quote, stolen in the last 10 years?
No, it's just another way to rip off Shawn Michaels,
one.
which is his entire main roster career. It's just Shawn Michaels co-opting. Yeah. Kurt Hennig and Shawn Michaels. It's just, I think he's a good wrestler, but I've never really seen him do much.
I think he's very average. I don't know what he does that 10 other guys can't do. Like even if he were to get a breath of fresh air and go to AEW, let's say AEW signed him. Let's say WWE lets him go. He goes to AEW and he kind of gets over it, has a run. WWE still would not be wrong for getting rid of him. Other than Tamina Snuka, I don't think there's one person on this roster. If you put me, and I know this is kind of harsh to say, and by the way, it's probably why wrestlers hate podcasts, but other than Tamina, there isn't a person I think WWE should get rid of more than Dolph Ziggler. He's been around for so long. He's not a show stealer. I thought Xavier Woods was better than him in the match on SmackDown. Oh, by the way.
There was a time when Dolph was super over with the crowd. I remember going to a Raw in 2010, 2011, where, I mean, the Ziggler t-shirts were everywhere.
Was it 13?
It was, well.
Because that was the Money in the Bank. But you know what?
Yeah.
It's been proven over time that it's the briefcase that's over.
Yeah, I don't know, but people are buying the shirts too. I mean, he was pretty over back then. I think, no, I don't think he's the best wrestler. I think he's a solid wrestler, but you might be onto something there too, Kyle. About he does a lot of stuff that a lot of people can do. But the big problem I've always had with him is that his whole career has been a Shawn Michaels cosplay, right down to the boots he wears, to the design on his trunks, to the moves he uses in the ring, to the way he carries himself. It's just like it's all Shawn Michaels, and that's what I don't like. I like to see some more originality out of him. Go ahead, Kyle.
You know, another problem with this whole match is the psychology again. Kind of goofy. The heel gets screwed the first time around, right? And is now getting a justifiable gimmick match as a result.
Yeah.
That's not really how you book.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to say Kofi wins and Dolph goes on another hiatus after this. Much to Kyle Ross's approval.
The only thing one positive I will say, like how Kofi Kingston's being booked since Mania. Strong. Imagine that. A strong babyface who just wins all the time.
Yeah, he should not even be close to losing the title at this point. I mean, he is a legitimate over babyface world champion. And
he doesn't even lose in tag matches. I think somebody tweeted that he's won like 40 straight matches. Good.
Has Kofi Kingston been booked over the last couple of months better than Roman Reigns ever has?
Yes.
What do you think, Justin?
Yes, but it's a different scenario.
I
think everybody was like, it was a little bit more organic to get.
Oh yeah, no doubt.
True.
But they haven't ruined it. You got to give them credit there. There's been guys have gotten over organically and then they've just squashed it.
Okay, to your point on that note, Dolph. Okay, yes, there have been times in the last 10 years, where he has been over. I'd like to stress again, 10 years he has gotten over. But like, who hasn't? Kind of like, you know, like everyone kind of like is like, oh man, this guy should get pushed more. Like, I mean, again, you could name 30 people in the WWE right now that fit that bill. So that's not special to me. It just not like, oh man, people really cheered his Money in the Bank win in 2013. Well, every Money in the Bank win gets cheered.
Yeah.
Carmella drew a reaction when she cashed in Money in the Bank.
Lesnar's isn't.
No, that one.
That's true. That's true.
When he beats Kofi in the premiere of SmackDown Fox.
Oh. God in heaven.
All right. So let's get to the main event, which is what I assume will be the main event. I assume we're all picking Kofi, though, by the way. I don't think we clarified that.
Yes, please,
Okay.
God.
All right. So Seth defending against Baron Corbin with the to-be-announced special guest referee. Let's just start off by who are some options for the special guest referee and who's it going to be? I think Lesnar is the obvious one we would throw out there. My other ideas for who it could be, I guess, maybe you could throw AJ in there since him and Seth have some history. Maybe you could throw in a returning Bray Wyatt. But it seems like Brock Lesnar is the most likely. What do you guys think about the special guest referee bit here?
Lacey Evans.
Lacey Evans. Yes. Kyle.
If Vince Russo was booking, it would be Becky, and she would turn on Seth and
Oh,
go with
that's
Baron
right.
Corbin.
Do you guys think they're doing too much with that relationship and showing them backstage and stuff?
Yeah, not yet. Not until we get that live sex show.
Yeah, I don't know if it's too much, but it's notable that they're doing it, and it feels like it should go somewhere. Like, it is kind of, I guess, like, it's not like you can hide it in 2019, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I guess you could, but, like, they chose not to. So it's been acknowledged. I think a lot of people know it. So it's kind of not, your two top your top men's and top women's babyface champion are dating. I'm not opposed to them doing something with it. I mean, they could wind up doing something very bad with it, but
yeah, I don't know. I feel like it's gotten a little forced and like the little passing in the hallway on Raw or whatever they did. Like, I don't know. We don't really need that like all the time, but
I didn't like the way they first introduced it to the television audience. I didn't like when she just like kind of came out of left field and jumped in the ambulance after the Lesnar beatdown.
mm-hmm.
Like I actually thought that was like odd.
Yeah. Okay. Just curious what you guys thought, but no, for real though, who do you think the special guest referee is going to be? Kyle.
I have Lesnar ? Guaranteed to be a letdown ? That I don't know who it could be that would be exciting and sensical.
CM Punk.
Now this is the spot in a half full Tacoma Dome. You bring in CM Punk. That maybe they should have announced that ahead of time. They could have been doing better with their ticket sales.
Could have brought in Rick Meyer.
Maybe it'll be Rick O'Shea.
Yeah, there you go. Why, by the way, does Baron Corbin, who was fired as the GM of Raw, in a big deal when the McMahons were taking back their promotion, if you recall, we talked about that last week, still have a, quote, office, and on SmackDown, no less?
It does not make any sense at all.
I was just scratching my head at that one.
Yeah.
I did like the end of Raw with Corbin laying out Rollins with the chair after Rollins had been laying everyone else out with the chair. He kind of needed to do it. Meltzer, again, was very happy to see him put this in his TV report in The Observer. I don't really know about Baron Corbin, who is a weak challenger, getting pinned in a tag match the week of a pay-per-view.
Yeah. No, I didn't like that either.
But it doesn't. Here's the other issue with this match. It doesn't matter who the special ref is because you cannot put the title on Baron Corbin.
No, I that's why like Lesnar obviously makes most sense because then they'll tease, is he going to cash in afterwards throughout the entire match?
God, that would kill the match, though. That would.
Or some may say what's going to kill the match is Baron Corbin being the challenger.
I think Baron Corbin is a fine professional wrestler, not a main eventer, but I think a good, he would have been a great guy for Kurt Hawkins to break the losing streak against, rather than that stupid way they did it on a pre-show tag match that meant nothing, and then they just jobbed the title a month later after no successful title offenses.
Mm-hmm.
Barrett, I'm gonna push you guys a little bit here. You guys are Seth Rollins fans. You know what I'd like to see from Seth Rollins here? This is the only thing that I'm interested. What I'm about to talk about is way more interesting to me than this special referee nonsense. I would like to see Seth, who is more Shawn than Brett, a discussion we had on this program several weeks ago. I think you would agree with that, right? Seth is closer to Shawn than Brett.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. I want to see him take it upon himself to make Baron look good in this match.
Okay. So you want to see him pull a Brett here?
Yes. I want to see him be more Brett than Sean. I don't want to see the Seth who just, finds a way to get all his same shit at every, in this match. Make your opponent look good.
I have a hard time seeing them book it that way. Like, I think he only has so much say in that. I think he could. But
you're right. That's a good point because Brett, that's stuff that came from Brett. Like, I'm going to do these little things to make this guy look better.
Mm-hmm.
That's not a WWE strong suit. That's actually a very good point by Justin Joyne.
Well, let me pull out my cell phone here, and I'm going to text Mr. Colby Lopez that you need to make.
That's
Baron
a local
Corbin.
number, by the way, right?
It is. It's a local number for us. You need to make Baron Corbin Sunday night.
The deep six is a good move.
Yes, it is.
I agree. I like that. It is a good move, but
I like him doing the Big Boss Man tribute spots.
Be better if he came out to the theme song.
That's fucking great.
That was a great theme song.
Okay,
Hold on, gonna have to edit that one in here.
Yeah.
Look at the timestamp right now.
If Baron Corbin comes up to Hard Times, I'm gonna be in tears on Sunday night.
Great song. Great theme song. Nope, Seth Rollins is winning though, so we'll see if he can carry Baron to a very good match, and we'll see who the special guest referee is, if it is the predictable Brock Lesnar or they actually shock and awe us. We shall see. Seth around the board, guys, I would assume.
God, I hope so.
Okay. So that is WWE Stomping Grounds. We haven't really gone over schedule for how we're going to do this, but we have promised it to all of you on Patreon that we are going to review for Top Rope Nation Extra all of the pay-per-views. We'll do a post show on it. It'll be posted within 24 hours of the end of the pay-per-view. Available only on Patreon, patreon.com/Top Rope Nation if you want to hear that. Again, that's the $5 tier, so you get the extra bonus shows and you get that free t-shirt for the month of June. So look for that sometime after the show, late Sunday or into Monday morning. All right, so before we get to your match of the week, Kyle, real quickly here, we do have some listener questions this week. So
we also should give a shout out to, people can make some money on their Stomping Ground picks.
I don't know if they're I was actually looking that up on my phone. I'm not sure if they're actually doing that. Usually, so we partner with Wrestle Rumble. Our friends, they do the I'm looking on my phone right now. They do the contest every single month where you try to predict the show. You can win some real cash on the predictions. We always give away a free entry, and they are not doing one this month, but they are doing one for Extreme Rules.
Speaks of Stomping Ground. I mean, my God, if the folks at Wrestle Rumble have checked out on you.
Wrestle Rumble is checked out this month. So there is no contest this month, but for Extreme Rules in July, we will be giving away a free entry as we always do. So check them out at WrestleRumble.com.
Sorry, I just picked my nose. Anyone watching?
For all the details. That's a benefit of Patreon right there.
Digging for gold.
All right. So, if, like I was saying, though, if you want to get a hold of us and email the show, we'll read the question on the air, give us something to talk about here in the listener segments. topropenation@gmail.com. We've got a question this week. First one coming in from Dalvin. He has emailed the show before, and he's got one for us here again. This one is about Mr. Jim Cornette.
Oh, somebody I was going to bring up in a few minutes.
Really? There you go. So he says, I have a thought that Jim Cornette is one of the best pro wrestling figures left alive, with all his knowledge of the business and what he has in his collection. I know he may rub some the wrong way. But what do you three musketeers say? Is he a real gem of pro wrestling? Is he often too critical at times? Dalvin says he finds criticism to be fair a lot. Or where would you rank him as a manager overall? So a few questions there. We can go one by one. I will say Jim Cornette, hell of a pro wrestling collection, as most of you probably know listening. But is he one of the brightest minds in pro wrestling still out there, Kyle?
I would not hire him to book my promotion in 2019, but that doesn't mean that his criticisms are bad or wrong. I actually like his critic. I think I brought it up on the program. Was it post? I think it was post WrestleMania. No, it was pre. because the Revival had won the tag titles. It was one of them. He offered a critique of Raw that was very different than a lot of people. It wasn't based on individual storylines. It was a lot on how the show is formatted and would come across to somebody who doesn't watch every week. I was going to talk about Jim in a few moments in my deep dive of the week for his announce work that he does on MLW. Spoiler alert, which I think is fantastic. I think Jim is just still one of the all-time greats at getting something over. I think he is one of the great minds. He does rub people the wrong way. I think he gets a little out of hand with his criticism, particularly when it comes to the Young Bucks. But when Jim Cornette talks, I do listen, and I like him.
Okay, Justin.
I enjoy playing racquetball every once in a while.
He is a great mind. I think when he talks, you got to listen. He knows this stuff. Now I don't always agree with him, like with the Young Bucks, as Kyle mentioned there, but obviously everything he says has a lot of validity, and you got to listen to him. He's been around for a long time. Yes, he is a great mind on the pro wrestling business. I would agree. I wouldn't have him booking everything either in this day and age. He's very old school, but you can learn a lot from the old school sometimes, and I think there's something to be said for that.
You know where he would be great? In a quality control role for the booking, where it's basically like, hey, Jim, this is the show. What do you think? And because he points out stuff, he's like, this makes no effing sense, what you're doing. And he's right 9 times out of 10 when he points that out.
Yeah.
So I think from a quality control perspective, he would be great. I wouldn't have him, certainly unfettered, but I wouldn't have him booking, by promotion really in 2019 either.
And where do you guys think he ranks as a manager? I mean, for me, I think Jim Cornette's probably one of the top 5 managers.
Yeah, it's either him or Heenan.
Yeah, top 5 for sure. So, Justin, thoughts on that?
I mean, it's Heenan and just whoever. I mean, everybody else is a long ways away from that.
Yeah, to me, Heenan's the greatest of all time. But then I think Jamie Hart could make a case. He's up there. Cornette, though, really, really good. Always enjoyed him as a manager.
There's no better. Well, I guess you could always argue the Road Warriors, but my favorite tag team act ever of all time was Midnight Express.
Yeah. Okay, our other question. This one comes in on Twitter. You can find us at Top Rope Nation. This one comes in from Chris, and he says, after Double or Nothing, I binge watched Orange Cassidy on YouTube. Is that process of an indie talent being discovered by viewers and further explored online going to be important for AEW success?
Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, that's the diehard fan base that they're going after.
We talked about this. You don't want to. It's much better for them to find diamonds in the rough than be a WWE retread promotion.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Apparently, the original plan for, and this was when Pac was going to be involved on Double or Nothing. I guess the original plan to crown their first world champion was going to be a Jericho-Moxley match. I would not have been very high on that. 2 ex-WWE guys going for the gold in the first match. I like what they're doing with Hangman Page and Jericho, but yeah, like Kyle said, it can't be a WWE light promotion. It's got to be discovering guys, whether it's through YouTube or Twitter videos or Instagram or whatever. So I do think that is going to be a huge key to their success, is sending people down that rabbit hole to learn more about these people that they maybe haven't heard of, but they see them on TV and they gain an interest for them. By the way, latest word, this is courtesy of The Observer, it is going to be Tuesday or Wednesday nights for AEW. Right now, it seems like Wednesday night is winning, but they haven't announced it for sure. We've talked about this on the show before. Tuesday is gonna cause some issues with NBA scheduling, especially in the spring.
I don't think TNT. I don't think ever has the NBA on Wednesdays. I think it's the one night they don't have it.
Yeah, so Wednesday is the most friendly night for them scheduling wise, where they wouldn't have to be moved around as much,
except for the playoffs.
Yeah, that's going to be an issue. But I think it's in the spring they have the Tuesday night games. So weekly, so that could be an issue But it looks like it's going to be Tuesday or Wednesday, and Wednesday's leading the charge, but no announcements yet. They're going to have to announce something pretty soon, though, because I think the international TV deals are kind of waiting on that. So we shall see. Justin, input on this AEW question here and sending people down the rabbit hole on YouTube.
I think that's one of the greatest things about professional wrestling is going down those deep dives and discovering something new.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. Speaking of deep dives, Kyle.
Yeah.
I think it is time for the I Love This Sport deep dive of the week with Mr. Kyle Ross. What do you got for us this week?
Yeah, a couple weeks ago, we had a listener email, and I apologize that I forgot that person's name who sent it in. Please keep listening, whomever you are. But they brought up MLW. And, I had talked about earlier in the show that I thought that non-main roster WWE TV last week, including 205 Live, NXT, NXT UK, all very good shows. So there's still good wrestling out there in the present day. Gave MLW a try. I shouldn't say a try, but I made sure to watch it based on word of mouth and recommendations I'd been reading. The new episode of Fusion led off this week with Flamita versus Ray Orris. It is a very good match with Jim Cornette on commentary, bringing it all together. I did not think it was as good as the Laredo Kid, El Hijo del Vikingo match that drew so much praise down in AAA, but it's still very good. So I would give Flamita Ray Orris a chance. When you do, you can just go to MLW's YouTube channel and watch it. It is the opener. And I'd watched the whole show. I thought the show was a pretty good hour.
Yeah, I've caught MLW on YouTube here and there. It is a very well put together show. And I guess just out of like time and having the time to watch it, it's hard to set that aside. But every time I've watched it, I've really enjoyed it. I think I'll check out this match for sure since you're recommending it here this week.
Like I said, it's not as good as Laredo Kid versus El Hijo de Vikingo, which I had just, I think I sent you guys that, like I DM that, like, hopefully it's still up there. You can get that free version. Unfortunately, that version I sent you, I think, has the English commentary. Meltzer was very adamant that you listen to Hugo Savinovich. But it was good. I mean, it was a good match. And I think MLW, if there is one issue, is this day and age where there's so many high-end matches, I don't know if they have enough high-end matches.
True. But they do have the New Heart Foundation. So
yes,
there's a reason to watch. All right, nice. We'll check it out. If you guys watch it and you have thoughts, let us know at Top Rope Nation or topropenation@gmail.com. So that's pretty much the agenda this week, guys. I don't really have anything else. Anything else for the good of the cause?
No, this was a jam-packed show. I didn't think we were going this deep this week.
Yeah. Well, we will see what happens Sunday night at WWE Stomping Grounds. We'll be back with the post-show exclusively on Patreon. Like I said at the top of the show, join the page before June 30th. Get your free shirt for just $5. Why not? Hell of a deal.
My God, everybody on my Twitter feed is watching the Fantastics and the Sheep Herders. I have to leave right now.
You got to go watch the network.
Yeah.
Check that out as well. That's your secondary deep dive of the week, listeners, to check out. So any other closing shots here? Justin, how's the draft going?
Somebody draft Bull, for the love of God.
Shocked it wasn't the Chicago Bulls at number 7. Too high?
He's still out there. We're in the second round.
I mean, not too high for Gar Forman and John Paxson. You never know, man. Have the Bulls drafted in the second round yet? Are they up to pick 38?
Yeah, they just drafted some center I've never heard of.
Oh, okay. Shocking.
Can I make a non-wrestling comment?
Yes, go ahead.
Laura Ingraham is shitty.
Oh, Laura Ingram's terrible. Absolutely terrible. I agree.
Say that. Look it up if you want to know why I would say that.
All right. Well, you can follow him on Twitter. That's Kyle Ross at TRP Kyle.
I'll like a lot of tweets that make fun of people like Laura Ingraham on there.
You like tweets way more than you actually tweet. In fact, when I stalk your page, I usually go to your like tweets section just to see what you've been liking.
Yeah, I like to acknowledge a good take in 2019.
Yeah. I know I get goosebumps whenever you like one of my tweets, Kyle. So
I'll have to.
You can follow Justin at Justin Joint. That's JOYNT. And I changed my Twitter handle this week. You can follow me. It's very simple, at Ryan Droste. That is DROSTE. So find that as well. And the show is at Top Rope Nation. Justin, do you have something?
Ironically, historical Ryan is history.
Yeah. Well, actually, I registered another account, Historical Orion. So anyone that listens to our old shows, if they go to that page, they can find the new one. So there you go. All about continuity. WWE could learn a thing or two from that, right? But no, we're also on Instagram at Top Rope Nation. We're on Facebook. Check us out there. And of course, YouTube. Subscribe, youtube.com/Top Rope Nation. Thanks to Derek Chappelle, Kyle Ryan, Tim Jensen, Forrest Pierce, Sean Skelton, Gabe C., and Carlo. Enjoy WWE Stomping Grounds. Check you guys out next week. Have a good
just
weekend.
like too your tweets.
Thank you very much. I haven't got the alert yet. Oh, there it is. Thank you, Kyle. Appreciate that. You liked my tweet about the Crockett Cup. I thought that was going to be coming hours ago, but I'll take it now.
I didn't see it. I apologize.
All right. Have a good weekend, guys.
Peace.